Let's jump over to some domestic issues, very important domestic cultural issues that will shock the soul.
Oh, yes.
We have this story from Yahoo Life. Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring of the Daily Wire announced Jeremy's Razors campaign against Harry's.
Oh.
If you guys haven't seen this yet, you've got to watch the greatest commercial ever they released on the Daily Wire.
Good.
And it's legit really, really good. Basically, the Daily Wire was sponsored by Harry's Razors. Harry's Razors got tweeted at by a high school kid. No joke. Like a person who said,
Literally
I'm in high school.
2 followers.
And with 2 followers and said, you guys are bigots. So Harry's was like, we hereby denounce the Daily Wire. So the Daily Wire has launched IHateHarrys.com, and they've launched their own Jeremy's Razors with this commercial. And it's brilliant. Not only is it funny, it's silly, it's over the top. He takes a flamethrower to Harry's and Gillette. He goes after these companies who hate you. Not just Harry's, but also Gillette, saying, men are too toxic or whatever. And now the Daily Wire's launched their own male grooming products. I think it's brilliant for 2 reasons. One, the cultural issue of it, taking back the culture, bringing back comedy. I'm looking at what the Daily Wire is doing. I'm seeing the way they're filming things, and I'm like, this feels very much like 2009, 2010 Vice.
Yep.
When it was edgy, funny, over the top, offensive.
When it was Vice.
Vice.
Well, and so the interesting thing, and I reported a year ago that this was in the works, and I kind of figured maybe it wasn't going to happen. And I'm glad that it did happen because it seems like a silly thing. And I remember when I reported it, I was like, is this newsworthy? But it absolutely is when you think about it, because what the Daily Wire is doing is creating this parallel infrastructure to the so-called mainstream infrastructure. And there, if you look at like Gina Carano, she gets purged from Hollywood. She's a legit actress. She gets purged, and the Daily Wire creates a soft landing pad for her, which then creates more incentives for other people in Hollywood to be open about what they think, because they can land somewhere when they get purged and somewhere legitimate. And so when you create this parallel infrastructure, you create real competition to the monopoly that wokeism has on corporate America. And so that is, I mean, we talk about monopolies and antitrust, but this is like an ideological monopoly, and there's no way to create competition for it because every single corporation is dominated by this ideology, and that's what they're doing.
Well, it's similar to the cancellation arbitrage that we were literally just talking about with sort of the New World Order versus the alternative world order, because sanctions on the international stage, on the domestic stage, is cancellation. And so Russia, China, India building up their own parallel economy, it actually kind of mirrors what we're seeing happening domestically with conservatives or just sort of anti-woke companies and economies of scale starting to be built out, and now supply chains, parallel social media, everything from Rumble to various social media platforms that are being built out. And it's very similar how the mainstream is the one that's kicking people out, but because you've kicked out now so many people, well, that's enough to form a critical mass where you can now build your own structure in your system. So we're seeing it happening domestically with things like this, but we're also seeing it happening internationally.
I think's falling apart. I think's breaking apart. The liberal world order, this unified system, Visa, MasterCard is being split here in the United States. The economy is being split.
It might be a way to bypass, what would you call it, where there's when one superpower raises up and then it displaces another.
Thucydides trap.
It may be a way to bypass Thucydides trap. I don't know, because when you look at the way Russia got economically canceled, there's no way to strike back. When you're a military and then you get canceled by Visa, there's no country to attack with your military. It's all money. What could happen is starvation, and then people rise up against the starvation, like, hey, you can't starve us like this. Then they take up arms and are called villainized, and then that could cause some sort of conflict. But I don't think it's going to get that extreme, because Russia, China, and the United States are capable of growing their own food for the most part.
Well, not only that, but Russia and China can they have a massive border with each other. They can directly trade. They don't, or, they have some talk about Central Asia. They have mutually beneficial countries that are, that they have good relations with, that they can trade through. So they don't need to, the United States Navy can't interdict trade between China and Russia. So, they don't need us, basically.
What we need in the United States is more of what the Daily Wire is doing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Shaving products. So whenever not only that, but Daily Wire has a streaming service they're building up, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm totally jealous of the stuff these guys are working on because they're hitting the nail on that with the hammer. So we need to think about woke companies that have either a monopoly or, close to one, and then start actually making products.
Yeah. So, and one of the most interesting things I've experienced in reporting on the Daily Wire's kind of ascent is being on the set of Terror on the Prairie, which is the new Gina Carano movie, was fascinating because I was talking to all of these people just from the crew who have spent their careers in Hollywood, and they're not sort of like, some of them are like red meat conservatives, but a lot of them aren't. They're just artists. And finally, I think when you create, again, those landing pads, it's not just that top bill talent. It's not just your Gina Carano's. It was makeup artists. It was people on the crew, and to a degree that I was really surprised by, who weren't just like, oh, hey, it's another job. They were like, no, we're here because we're really excited, not to promote a conservative message, but to promote the message that we're giving a middle finger to Hollywood. And that's what artists need to feel comfortable doing. And the Daily Wire is creating spaces for that. And it's going to be really, really powerful. At least so far, it seems like it has been. And the talent they're snatching up is also very interesting. Yeah,
the fascinating thing is, and I'm watching the commercial, and it's remarkably well made in terms of production quality.
So fun.
Yeah, it's just absolutely.
Speaking of, you want to roll that thing? We able to roll that
it's
commercial?
It's like, what is it, like 3 or 4 minutes long?
Okay, but he has a flamethrower.
Well, and if you
he's got a flamethrower.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I've done Candace's show down there a couple of times, and just to talk about, you know, the behind the scenes of that, they have a live studio audience. Where they do the show, and the show is shot live to tape, and so you've got people that are in there, a couple hundred people per episode, and everybody's, you know, dressed very professionally, dressed like really, really nice. The audience is, you know, kept live. There's like an MC that kind of comes in between when they're changing up the sets. I mean, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes there. It's wild.
Yeah, and their gift shop is one of the things that sounds silly, but that blew me away, because if you go to their gift shop, and they have one outside the set where they do Candace's show, it's things that, it's sort of like inside Daily Wire jokes, but you can see how they're tapping into this really kind of, cultural populist sentiment that I don't think anybody else has come close to doing yet.
I have always loved the jokes they've had on their show. It's always been a running joke that Ben is going to fire Michael Knowles. It's always been a running joke that Matt is a cranky old crab. He's an old coot. He's not even that old, but that's his persona. They come up with these personas. They're very personable. They're very funny. They get along with each other. They smoke cigars together. I think it's awesome.
So Harry's, this is interesting. I'm I don't know of many companies that have co-CEOs. Is that like a normal thing? Because the Daily Wire has
like a joint venture
co-CEO.
Almost. Yeah.
But we have a statement here from Jeff Rader. They say, co-founder and co-CEO of Harry's. He states, "We created Harry's to offer better shaving and grooming products for everyone. We believe deeply in free speech, but draw the line at hate. We'll continue to support our customers and community with kindness and compassion." A spokesperson from the brand continued by saying that Harry's does advertise across the various media, including the conservative Fox News. However, the brand does not associate with entities that engage in or endorse hate speech. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a Harry's subscription, you should cancel it and get a Jeremy subscription. Yeah, outright. Yes. Because, you know, here's the challenge with Netflix and Disney. If you want to watch the latest Disney movie, it's Disney or nothing, baby. Yep. Mm-hmm. If you want to watch those Netflix series, it's Netflix or nothing. If you want to shave your face, it's Harry's or Jeremy's. Yeah. And Jeremy's are the company who are like, we don't hate you, we just want your money. And Harry's are the company that says, we actually do hate some of you. Yeah. And we hate you because you hate, so we're going to hate you. And
there's another really interesting and I think dark element to this, which is, and the example I always use is like, why on earth is Stephen Colbert one of the most, and often on the ratings, the most popular host in late night? And we can talk about Greg Gutfeld, which I think is another amazing story. But Stephen Colbert, he is objectively the worst comedian in late night, and he's also the most partisan comedian in late night, which just completely flips the script. You used to have Johnny Carson's writers sit down every night and ask themselves the question, what is going to make America laugh tonight? Stephen Colbert's writers sit down every night and think, what is going to make resistance boomers laugh tonight? And he wins because he has cornered that niche audience, and he has built this loyal following among that niche, because no longer do you need 15 million viewers to be the king of late night. You need a reliable 3 to 4 million viewers to be the king of late night. And this happens with the death of mass media and the death of popular culture in different sections of the economy. And that's why Harry's Razors is going to feel more comfortable. They want to be the razors for progressives. It's like the dumb Gillette commercial.
But look, I think what Colbert realized, and a lot of these hosts, is that you're not going to get a general market anymore.
Exactly.
So they've abandoned the idea.
Yes.
And that's hyperpolarization. It's very scary to me.
I was just watching.
It's smart on a business level, but not on a cultural level. It's terrifying.
I was watching
That's why
Johnny
we're,
Carson
we're,
last
you know,
night. actually.
starting tomorrow,
Really?
everybody
Yeah.
on the show has to wear MAGA hats with Trump 2024 on
I
it
was-
because we've realized, you know, it's
I was thinking this dialogue last night,
Yeah.
watching Johnny Carson, and what I was watching was the Drew Carey, his first appearance on Carson,
Oh,
91.
wow.
And Johnny was such a loving host. Like his favorite thing to do is show new talent to the world.
Right.
But it was all centralized at that time in the early 90s, 80s, before the internet. There weren't a million comedians. Now there's like a million. There's like 100,000 or 10,000. So you can't. There's no like funnel to hose them through. It's a completely
Yeah, but
different
you know,
environment. The fact
totally.
that show still exists is insane.
Yep.
It's the wrong format for a wild market. It doesn't make.
And he wasn't apolitical, by the way. He told political jokes, but they were jokes that everybody could laugh at.
So
I want to hit
just
that
my take on this is that a lot of people pointed out that we do have this sort of breakup of central pop culture and certainly breakup of media, but there have been times in America's history where we've had huge flourishings of alternate viewpoints. If you go back to the founding and you look at the printing press, if you look in the 1900s at the level of the amount of newspapers each city used to have, this idea that all media has to be centralized and that everybody can only watch 3, 6, and 10, and there's only a couple of networks, that was just one moment in American history, and it's certainly not talk
We
radio.
fetishize
Talk
it,
radio
yeah.
has been around. Yeah, we really do.
Yeah.
Talk radio was around prior to World War II.
But then
Right.
you need
these things did
institutions
exist.
like the New York Times to stop pretending they represent or they're reporting on the entire country.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.